Well, Tanner, welcome to the show. We just caught up before hitting record, and sounds like we've got a lot in common. Excited to have you on the show. Excited to talk about your new book of poetry that's coming out. We live very close to each other. You're just down in Nashville. I'm up here in Bowling
hmm
Green. Very excited to have you on. How are you doing, man?
Man, I'm just happy to be here. Yeah, I feel like I just met someone who I've known for a very long time, which is really nice.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've enjoyed following you from afar on social media, on Instagram, now Substack, and familiar with your work. And you do great poetry. Poetry has always been an area that has just been kind of a blind spot for me. I was a creative writing minor, but I'd never grasped poetry for whatever reason. And so I'm interested to kind of get into your background, how you got into poetry, how it has led you to where you
hmm
are right now professionally. But yeah, kind of just give the almost the readers, the listeners, readers of your book, I get, yeah, but listeners of the show, kind of a brief rundown who you are. I know you're a big Magic fan. We just,
Oh
like I said,
yeah.
caught up. You're in Nashville, and yeah, share a little couple things about you.
Yeah, I don't expect anybody to really know anything about me, so this is good. Yeah, I'm an author, a poet, a speaker. I live in Nashville, Tennessee, with my wife Sarah, our dog Pancake, and our son Judah.
Pancake. Love it.
Pancake, yeah, man. He's watching me right now while we
That's awesome.
record this, and he's like, "You should be quiet. I'm trying to nap." And I travel around the country sharing poetry, spoken word poetry, telling stories, offering hope. And it's just yeah, this I just kind of fell into this whole writing, creating, putting words on the internet, and made a God made a career out of it. It just became a career, and I'm just super excited to be able to have conversations and to be releasing a new book of poems and essays into the world with Zondervan. It's just a dream.
Yeah, yeah. The book is getting through what you're going through, which I'm super excited to get into that. That'll be out February 2026, so not too
Mhm.
far from here. But yeah, walk me through just sort of did you study creative writing or anything? Like, how did you? Was this just kind of a hobby? I mean, just curious, kind of how you
Yeah.
got into this.
Yeah, it was a hobby. Growing up, I loved a couple of things. I loved basketball and I loved punk rock music, and I was never gonna make it to the NBA.
Yeah,
It just hasn't happened for me yet, and I don't think it's ever gonna happen. I just turned 36 and I'm still 5'10", so it's not happening.
yeah. I'm
Um,
36 and 5'7", so it's long gone for me.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, dude, we're out. We're not even on the bench. We're hardly in the stands.
I hurt my knee playing rec basketball. I tore my meniscus playing rec basketball in April. So yeah, I'm past the prime of
Oh, and
the
that's a
athlete.
terrible injury.
Yeah,
That's like we'll enjoy sitting for the rest of your life.
yeah.
I tore mine back in high school, and so
Okay.
now it's just we don't have to get into the old man injury stuff. But I could do a whole episode on it.
Yeah.
Uh, but I also love punk rock music, and
Me too. There you go.
just like the lyrics really got me. And so when I tried to start a band, I realized you had to be talented musically, and I can't sing and I can't play music, so I was just left to writing.
Yeah.
And the words that I wrote really just came out as poetry. These feelings, these questions, the wrestling of what it means to be a human, of what it means to follow God, of what it means to I don't know, just to be alive. That just kind of came out in my writing, and I filled a lot of notebooks. And then one day I was at a concert and I saw this guy do spoken word poetry. It's like 20 years old. I was a sophomore in college, and that kind of changed everything for me.
Hmm.
Um, and I watched his name is Anis Mojgani. Saw him perform, and I just thought I want to do that, but I want to do it in my own way.
Hmm.
And so that's just what I've been doing, and just slowly plugging away. But I went to college for youth ministry.
Yeah.
Thought I was going to be working in a church. Thought that was going to be my career, and I did that for a little while. Especially early on in my career, I worked for at churches. I worked at camps. Not to brag, I also worked at Chick-fil-A, and really just to secure my spot, in heaven. That's not
Yeah.
how it works. I get
Yeah.
it. Okay. But like that was kind of what helped me get to get me to where I am today. Um, so yeah, never thought I would be introducing myself as a poet.
Yeah.
Um, so, but that's who I am.
That's great. I gotta ask, who are some of your favorite punk rock bands?
Oh, dude. You've opened up. You've opened it up. Newfound Glory, Blink 182, Yellow Card, the starting line.
Dude,
Oh my goodness,
you're
man.
talking my
It's
language.
just the Yellow Card just released this. We're recording this in October, right?
Yeah.
But Yellow Card just released this new album, and it is perfect front to back. I love it so much. Yeah, man, I'm just like that. Like the music that was good in 2004 is still
Yep,
good to me.
dude,
It's the
that's like
stuff
what
I
I
can't get.
it's what I listen to. Like even if I go to like I have a big playlist of like all my favorite music. Half of it is still songs that I listened to in high school.
Yeah, man. Jimmy Eat World. Like there's
Jimmy
just
Eat
so
World,
many.
something
There's just
corporate. I mean,
yes, so many good. So there's. It's just too good. But that, I mean, but when I listened to it, they put into words what I was thinking, what I was feeling, and they said it or they played it in a way that hit me right in my stomach, right in my gut, that made me feel seen, that made me feel
yep.
alive, and that's the kind of stuff that I want to write. And after shows, when I perform mostly at churches, so not super punk rock, but that's what we're doing. Um, or
Depends on
it's
what kind of church, I guess.
yeah, yeah, I guess so. Or it's the most punk rock thing ever.
Yeah.
Um, but when when I share the words that I have written and somebody comes up to me and says, something along the same lines of what I would say to my favorite band of, you put into words what I couldn't or what I'm feeling. That's kind of what it's all about.
Yeah.
And as a writer, when you write something, share something from this vulnerable place, and somebody else says, thank you or me too. Like that's why we do. At least that's why I do this, because I want to help people continue or to feel less alone.
Hmm.
And that's really what this whole book is about, of getting through what you're going through. The stories in it, the essays, the poems in it are really just these like these words to hold on to help you get through the things that you never thought you would go through.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm first of all, I'm glad we have very similar taste in music. Did you ever get into Angels and Airwaves, Tom DeLonge's other
Dude,
band?
that their first album is a top five for me.
Yeah. They
It's a
are
top five.
so I'm sad to say I did not really get into them when they were super popular. I actually got into them because when I started dating my wife, we started watching One Tree Hill, which I had never
Yep.
watched whenever I was a teenager, and they played on one of the episodes, and I was
Really?
like, "Dang, I forgot how much I enjoyed Tom DeLonge's voice." But I'd never really listened to Angels and Airwaves. Went back and listened, and I was like, "This is so much better musically than Blink 182 for me. Like it was much more mature." So
Dude,
I got VIP tickets like 6 years ago to go see Angels and Airwaves in St. Louis, and I met Tom, and like he like talked to me during the show too because we were like in the front row. He was like talking to my wife and me. And he was like, "Are you two together?" And I was like, "Yeah, we're married." He's like, "I love that." And he's like, "Meet me in my tour bunk in like 2 hours." And I was like, "Okay." But like, it was so cool just to meet him. But yeah, man, that era of music is awesome. So glad we can connect
it's a
there.
well, I'm quite jealous of that story. I did see them play when I was in college or when we were in college,
Yeah,
and it was just an amazing show.
yeah,
But there's something about like that kind of music that makes you I don't know, it makes you float. It makes you feel alive.
yeah,
It's very cinematic, um, but it's also still loosely punk,
yeah,
where like you just and when I say like punk, like in the same way, I feel like that's a little bit of what the church is like too,
yeah.
of like we are bonded together, we are moving forward, we are holding each other up. Like it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. One of the things I was able to negotiate for our wedding, I let my wife plan just about everything else, but I was like, can I please have the guy who is playing music at our wedding play The Adventure by Angels and Airwaves on piano for like when the bridal party was walking down the aisle, like to get, and so it was awesome. And he was
Dude,
he was a big Angels and Airwaves fan. He was like, dude, this is awesome. He like wrote his own arrangement for it. And I had heard some piano version on YouTube, and I was like, okay, I really want this at my wedding, and I sent it to him, and he was able to play it. And what's crazy is his name is Chris Ekis, and like you'll hear him on like K-Love now. Like he sings with like it's called Essential Worship. It's like a music
okay, yeah,
collective.
yeah,
And I'm like, I was listening to the radio one time, and I was like, why does his voice sound familiar? And I Shazammed it, and it was like Chris Ekis, and I was like, dude, like he was sang at my
that's our
wedding. So
guy. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, that was one of the things that I was like, I tried to get my wife to let us whenever we walked into the wedding reception. I wanted the wedding party to be announced to the 90s Bulls theme song, like the walk or whatever the starting lineup song. She's like, "No, we're not doing that." And I was like, "Okay, well, at least let me have the Angels and Airwaves song." So,
That's amazing.
yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, I'm curious, like when it comes to poetry, this is like I was mentioning, like this has always kind of been a blind spot for me. I have no idea if I was to write something and say it's poetry, I don't know like what constitutes poetry. Like genuinely, I'm like because I when I was in creative writing, we would do these exercises where you'd have to write a poem and then you'd read it in front of the class. And
Yeah.
at that context of my life, every poem I just thought it rhymed, and everybody was going around and they were reading all this stuff, and I was like, none of this rhymes. And then it got to me, and I read out just like this super elementary sounding baseball themed poem, and I felt like such an idiot. And somebody was like, by the way, it doesn't have to rhyme. I was like, yes, I realize that now. So
Well,
I'm
now I
just
know.
I'm curious, like what is the structure of poetry? Is there really I mean, just kind of how did you? It feels like there's some math involved. There's rhythm. Obviously, there's rhyming and things like that. So how did you get into it, and how did you kind of make sense of just like the actual art of it?
Yeah, I don't know. I look at it, and it depends on who you're talking to about poetry, because someone's going to tell you there are a lot of rules for it, and I look at it as how can I communicate something that's it's not a story, it's not a sermon, but it's kind of somewhere in between,
Hmm.
or more of like a song, um, and I'm not singing.
Yeah.
When I sit down to write, I'm not concerned of I'm not like, oh, is this a poem? Is this not a poem?
Yeah.
It's like I'm trying to communicate something outside of myself that is living deep down inside of me, if that makes any sense. Uh, and just to offer a piece of hope to someone. Um, Here, I'm not, when I was in school, I wasn't very good at school. I went to school to play on the playground, to play sports, to make
Yeah.
jokes, and to flirt with girls. Like that's why I was at school. I really wasn't concerned with the learning. I didn't know that that was the reason why we were there for quite a long time. Um, and so when I approach something creatively, I'm not trying to stay inside of like some structure or something educational. It's just I want to offer something beautiful to the world, and I don't think that it has to have a rule. Um, so I don't know. I shouldn't be like I am. I'm not. I didn't go to school to be a poet. I just write words that sometimes rhyme, but often, hopefully, leave you feeling more like yourself or less alone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's funny. You're in class, and all of a sudden, it's like, all right, well, here's this poem.
Yeah, they would
Yeah.
do this like, just kind of peer feedback. And I remember just as soon as it got to me, I was like, oh, this is so
Mm.
embarrassing. And it was seriously some stupid poem about like sliding into home and winning a game on a baseball game. And I was like, yeah, this sounds like such a child's poem, but
Yeah.
I didn't know. So
Hey, it's totally okay. And that's the cool thing about like creating. It's the beautiful thing about art is like
yeah,
you could just let it like this is what I made and this is what you made and it's gonna serve somebody else differently. There's not like, there's no competition. Like I know, here's the thing, releasing a book means that you are now open to criticism.
hmm,
I already know there are gonna be many Amazon reviews where it's like, this isn't actual poetry or this isn't an actual poem on a certain page. And that's fine. I'm not concerned with that. What I want is I want to write something honest and give that to the world.
yeah,
Something that I'm proud of. Something like every page of this book has meant something to me through the things that I've gone through the conversations that I've had. And from the people who have gotten to read it already,
yeah,
they feel the same way.
yeah. Do you get much negative feedback like that? And if so, how do you kind of handle it?
I get some negative feedback. I don't. Sometimes I'll dwell on it because I'm a human being.
Yeah,
People are like, don't read the comments. Um,
it's hard not to though.
Read the comments.
Yeah,
Go read them. See what people are saying. But don't live in the comments.
yeah,
Don't let it inform your life or change the way that you create. I released a children's book last year titled "All the Things I Say to God," and I have one bad review on it that's kind of floating around, and it's like it's almost as if this person didn't even read the book.
yeah,
They just decided that they didn't like it for one reason or another, and that's okay. They're probably having a really hard day,
yeah,
and that made them feel better, and it's how it is.
yeah,
Um, I'm gonna keep doing the things that I'm doing, and I'm gonna try to get better at it. Uh, but I also know who I'm writing for,
hmm,
and I know why I'm writing it, and I'm not writing it for positive. I'm not writing it for the reviews.
yeah,
If I was, then you're trying to please everybody. Buy the
Yeah.
book that has 3 stars. Buy the book that has 5 stars, like, I don't know. Maybe they just bought a lot of reviews. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, find a book that not everyone agrees on because it might just be the thing that you need. Um, yeah, don't you can't
Yeah.
live in the comments, but you can read them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let yourself read them. Like,
Yeah.
what are people saying?
Well, I'm interested to get into sort of just the background and the premise of this book and this collection of poetry. The book is called Getting Through What You're Going Through. Again, it comes out February 2026. And you were sharing a little bit before we recorded about where this idea came from, the season of life that you were in when you wrote
Mhm.
this. Yeah, I'm curious, you want to share kind of where this idea I always love talking to artists on this show about where their idea comes from, especially authors. Like where did the impetus for this book come from? What was kind of the launching pad for this book? A lot of times there's more than just one thing, but yeah,
Oh yeah.
what was the season of life you were in? Where did these ideas sort of originate for you?
Yeah, a lot of this book was written in 2021, 2022. So
Okay.
it's been a while.
Yeah.
These poems have been kind of sitting,
Yeah.
um, just kind of where I've been working on them, or I've been just writing some new stuff. And when I was approached about this book and kind of putting it together, I knew I wanted to share the poems that meant something to me, or the ones that I feel can resonate deeply with a wide audience. A lot of this book was written in 2022 when my wife and I we were diagnosed with unexplained infertility,
Yep.
which is basically the doctor just saying, "Hey, man, we really don't know why why this is the thing that you are going through." And we just entered into this long season of grief, of frustration, of uncertainty, because we never thought this is the thing that we would be going through. And when you find yourself going through something that you never thought you would go through, you don't know what to do. You don't know how to react, how to respond. You don't know what to pray. Sometimes you don't know how to pray. So I just found myself writing, wrestling with the words uh, as we went through this season, and there were other things along the way that played into writing this book. Like as a writer, you know what it's like to dwell on the past, or to continue to process the things that you've gone through. Like I was let go of a job right out of college, which really pushed me right into writing. My dad got sick during COVID. Um, you know, I saw friends bury loved ones. It's just the of me realizing how hard it is to be a human being, that we're all going through something, and that it's important for us to not just like get through it, but to actually go through it, to struggle, to take a step at a time, to not just skip to the good part. And so, yeah, as soon as we were diagnosed with unexplained infertility, and the steps that we took afterwards of being led to adoption, and then eventually bringing our son home through adoption, it just this is where that book came from. Uh, it came out of a season of man, I do not want to be in this, and now I look back and I'm so glad I went through all of that. You know?
Yeah, I mean, we talked before we recorded just about how similar our stories are.
Yeah.
I shared with you, and people that are listening know um, the journey my wife and I have been going through with infertility and sort of unexplained as well.
Hmm.
And it's just a really helpless, but also sometimes hopeless feeling. And I mean, there's times whenever the way that I explained it to my therapist last week was it feels like, if you're told to run a mile, you get to about three-fourths of the way through, hey, I can push through. I know this is going to end soon. Whereas for a season like this, it's like, hey, just keep running, just keep running. And then you get
Hmm.
told you don't know when you're going to get to stop running. And so you get exhausted and you're like, I just want to give up. And that's sort of how
Yep.
I have felt. And so,
Yep.
and you'd mentioned, was it your father that got sick during COVID?
Yep.
And so
Hmm.
like, I'm going through that with my dad right now, who's dealing with cancer. I just got laid off last month. We're recording this in
Hmm.
October. I just got laid off from my job. And so very similar stories, I'm sure very similar emotions. And, I've had very deep conversations with the Lord, and there's, and I truly mean this. I mean, there's nothing that could happen where I'm going to lose hope in the Lord. I still believe, I still have hope. But there are some days when it's
Yeah.
just as like, well, what if that answer is just always no? Like, what if that's just not
Yeah.
my story? And then I'm
Hmm.
wrecking with the idea of like, well, why do I have these desires on my heart to be a parent or to have this type of job if that's not what God's plan is for me? So I'm curious sort of
Hmm.
how you wrestled through all the different emotions where maybe you had hope and then maybe were brought down and then maybe even angry at God or just confused. I mean, there's a roller coaster of emotions that you go through whenever you're in a long period of waiting and uncertainty like this. And so I assume that is shown through your poems. And maybe there's some that
Hmm.
show hope. Maybe there's some that show desperation. Some that just show
Yeah.
exasperation. I mean, we see it in scripture from all kinds of different Job. I mean, Job story specifically. So I'm curious how you navigated all those emotions, what your prayer life looked like, how you navigated just day by day. I mean, I'm sitting in this situation where every day I wake up to a new rejection from a job, and it's just very dejecting, and it can feel really hopeless. So, how did you
Yeah.
get to a point where you were able to accept this and just sort of navigate all of it? I know it's a very long, deep question, but yeah,
No, it is. It's a great question, though. I guess the question you're asking is how did you get through what you were going
yeah,
through?
but yeah,
Right? Like, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's like the whole,
yeah,
read the book. No, I'm just
yeah.
kidding. Did I, man, that the season was, it was so incredibly painful and extremely lonely. And I could not get on social media because every time I got on social media, somebody was announcing a new child or a new job or a new something really good. It seemed like everyone was doing better than I was, and that they were really happy to be alive, and I was just struggling. I felt like, yeah, it felt exactly like you explained to your therapist. We were just going, and we were on this ride, and we had no idea when we could get off because there's not a timeline.
Mhm.
There's no like end date. It is go, and so I wrestled with that a lot, and the where I found peace was that is the invitation of God is to follow and to trust and to go. And it is never it's going to be this way or it's going to go the way that you think it's going to go. But we can still keep going. We can continue to walk by faith. And I have to trust and I have to believe that God is good and that God is kind and that he is faithful because he was and he still is and he will continue to be. But I know that as hard it is, life is not going to look the way that I want it to look. And that is also the most wonderful thing.
Mhm.
Like, life is not going to look the way that I wanted it to look, even though it's a good thing. Like, the things that you want, those are such good and beautiful things. And so, my prayer was always, why?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
how? Um,
When?
yeah, it was mostly just asking questions and sitting with the silence and asking for my friends to pray for me because I didn't have the capacity to pray.
Yeah,
I didn't have the energy to sit and I would sit and be with God, but I hardly said anything, and a lot of contemplation was happening
yeah,
um, while knowing that God was with me in that. But when you're going through it, and I know people who are listening to it, they have their own thing that they are going through or that they're about to go through. If there's one thing that being a homeowner has taught me is that something is about to break or something is broken. Like that's just the two realities you live in when you own a
yeah,
house.
yeah,
Uh, and the same is kind of true as with a human, with this gift of a life of um, something is hard right now and or something is about to be hard. Like that's just how it goes on this side of heaven. And yet so I continue to cling to the promises, to cling to the hope. And hope for me, like if you were to say, what's your definition of hope? It is the full assurance that God is with me in this, in whatever my this is from season to season, from day to day. He is with me in it. And that's the hope that I have is that I am seen, known, loved, not forgotten, even though as you probably feel at your core right now, you feel very forgotten. Like that's just what it is. And that's painful. I would always remind myself that the way things are not the way that they will always be.
Yeah.
And that brought me comfort. But I got to tell you, man, like we were in the we were diagnosed with unexplained infertility in 2021. Um, our son did not come home until November of 2023. Is a long period, and we had tried for like the previous year, so it was like 3, 4 years of waiting, of enduring. And towards the end, like I was done.
Yeah.
I was ready to just be like, all right, well, so life is never gonna be what I want it to be, and a lot of it is how do I cling to beauty instead of bitterness?
Yeah.
How do I rest in something that is beautiful rather than let myself be given over into bitterness? Because when you get bitter is when it gets really hard.
Yeah.
Um, so, and I
Yeah.
don't have a way of being like, and this is how you stay
Yeah.
not bitter. Just yeah. So man, what you're going through is definitely a lot. Um, and I hate it for you. And yet I already rejoice with future you
Yeah.
when you look back and you say this is what God was doing all along,
Yeah.
because it's not going to be what you thought it was going to be.
Yeah. No, I think the what you said about clinging to beauty instead of bitterness is a really beautiful way of thinking about it. And I am so grateful that I have such a strong foundation in the Lord, but I know that seasons like this are often what break people and turn them away from
Yeah.
the Lord or turn them away from the church. And I have such compassion and empathy for those people because I get it. I get it when you feel like I
Hmm.
have all of these things that I want and I just don't feel like the Lord cares about me. I don't feel like the Lord is hearing me. Why is he answering prayers for this family? I mean, I've had that. Like, why is this family getting three kids and we can't even have one? Like it's hard to not feel that way. Um, and I want so badly to just like hug those people so tightly and say what you're saying, but I know for them they can't see that yet. So what hope would you
Hmm.
offer to a listener that maybe is going through a very difficult season of uncertainty, unanswered prayer, where they're dealing with some of these emotions as well, and they just don't see the hope in the Lord that you've been able to experience that others have? Um, if you were sitting with them over a cup of coffee, what would be some hope you would offer them?
I think the thing that I would try to communicate, and it is very, very hard to try to communicate something um, so beautiful and so I think hope can often be misunderstood. You know, like it's just like this, everything's okay. And I don't think that, and hope moves close and reminds us that yes, everything is going to be okay, but it does not try to diminish that things are not okay.
Hmm.
I don't think hope knows how to read the room.
Yeah.
And so if somebody is going through it, I want to explain that I see that God sees that.
Hmm.
Um, and that, like I've said before, like, yeah, something more is happening. God is slow until he isn't. Like in the waiting, in the wondering, in the frustration, God is not absent. He is present. One of the most frustrating things that people have told you in this season, and I know they have told you, is that God's timing is perfect,
Yeah.
right? It is can we say something different to a hurting person?
Yeah.
It's not helpful.
Yeah.
Sorry. Uh,
No,
but
no,
people tell
I
us that all the time,
agree.
like God's timing is perfect. And don't like I don't disagree with you. I
Yeah.
know that is true. That's not what I need to hear when I am on the verge of a breakdown, or when I just want to crawl back under the covers because I'm so depressed. I know God's timing is perfect, but what I need, what I want other people to know is that they are not forgotten,
Hmm.
is that God is doing something more than we can see, and that it is totally okay. It's totally okay to be sad. It's totally okay to want something. To want something different, to wish that you were in a different season. But we can't skip to the good part. But we can take those small, slow, faithful steps forward or to the side as we move forward. right? Like that's just all that we can do, but to understand that you're not alone while you do it,
Yeah.
which is why it's so important to say, here's how I'm actually doing.
Yeah.
Like, don't just tell me everything's fine. Like, I know that's not true. Tell me what you told me when we first got on this call, Cole, of
Yeah.
like, life's not what I
Yeah.
really want it to be right now.
Yeah.
And that's when I think hope does its best work, is when you clear room for it to be active.
Yeah.
Um, when you do invite God into the mess. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. None of us know what's going on.
Yeah.
None of us have it all together. We're all just getting through what we're going through, you know?
Yeah. No, I love that phrase. I really, I mean, I love the idea. That's really kind of what it comes down to when you're in these seasons. And the name of this podcast is In No Hurry. And so I created this about 6 years ago, which is crazy to think that I started this podcast 6 years ago. Have not been consistent over the course of 6 years of always recording podcasts, but uh, this was after a season of whenever I was teaching. We moved to Bowling Green, and it was I created it when I was just moving so fast, and needed to remind myself to slow down. But I've especially felt that in this season of slowing down, but just pausing and trying to be still with the Lord. Losing my job
Mm,
has forced me to slow down in a way that I never have because I'm so used to just going and
yeah.
going and being busy. And so I'm curious for you when you were going through this difficult season and everything else that you explained, what did that look like for you to slow down, to be with God, to hear God's voice, just to kind of clear out any of the noise that could have been clogging what the Lord was trying to
Yeah.
show you or teach you?
Yeah, I'm also very similar. Cool. We should just start our own podcast
Yeah,
called Us, because that's
yeah,
basically we're going to talk about music from the early
there
2000s
we go.
and how hard it is to be a human. I
Yeah,
love it. Uh, so I was after college, I worked at a camp in northern Wisconsin, a place that I loved, and it was a year-round camp in an unincorporated town, like just very small, secluded, beautiful north woods of Wisconsin. And the summers were absolutely wonderful. Camp was full. There were kids, there were adults. Like every week, there was something happening. It was amazing. And then after summer, we would have a couple of retreats on the weekends, and it was great. And then winter would come, and things would really slow down and the darkness was there, and the white witch, which is the snow, would arrive. And I'm from Florida, so I don't do anything really under 60 degrees, and it was often 0 degrees. It was
yeah,
so cold and dark and lonely, and I lived alone by myself, and it was a really, really hard season.
yeah,
Um, and I remember thinking like I have to make some kind of change, and I didn't know what it was. And so I would just go on these walks in the woods. I would leave my phone behind, which is often a really good decision. Um, Unless you don't know where you're going, you should bring it. But I would just go walk in the woods and talk out loud to God. And there was no agenda. There was nothing was prepared. I was just wandering in the woods with God. And I cannot tell you how healing that was.
yeah,
There's something about creating space, of clearing everything away and going to be with the one who has invited you and to say the things that you want to say but you don't know how to say, of finding the courage, the energy to bring forward the things that you just don't know how to talk about, um, and then to listen. You know, prayer is not talking to God; it's talking with God, and to just listen, and let yourself be loved, to be healed, to be heard. Uh, the most beautiful things just cannot be explained.
yeah,
And that is something, that is a season for me where I never, anytime I talk about how I would walk in the woods and pray with God, I never feel like I explain it the way that I want to explain it,
mhm,
because of how impactful and beautiful and restorative it was.
mhm,
And that's the business that God is in, is the business of redemption, of restoration. And so when you're going through it, like you can go through it with God.
Yeah.
Like he's already with you in it. Like just let him. Um, and that for me, man, like that's stuff. And then so when it came, so that was like 2015. And so
Yeah.
then when infertility stuff happened in like 2021, it was it was just a different season, a different season of life. And so I really wanted to have that season in the woods. And I just, man, I couldn't get off the couch.
Yeah.
I couldn't get myself together.
Yeah.
And part of that was just because I was so distraught,
Yeah.
you know. I
Yeah.
was like, I was going through it, and I tried so hard to pull myself out, and I couldn't. Um, and eventually, like the sun started to come back out. I started waking up early. I started sitting and praying more and more, and but I think you just got to make room for it all, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It's like I'm not super consistent with working out, but I know when I work out, I feel better.
Yeah.
I also know that when I spend time in prayer, the heaviness gets a little bit lighter.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I started joining my wife to get 10,000 steps a night, which is or a day, and I've not been as good about it lately. But for like 2 or 3 months, I was very consistent every night, and I felt better. And my wife
Yeah.
has continued it. She's been doing it since like June. So she, regardless of what happens that day, she's going to get her steps. So even today, today we're talking. We're going to this concert in Nashville, and she's like, last night she was like, I don't know when I'm going to get my steps tomorrow. And I was like, I
It's
guess
like,
you'll just have to walk around Bridgestone while the show's
yeah,
going on or
yeah.
something. So, uh, well, I know I just kind of asked you a question about slowing down, but I always do like to end with this. Like currently in your life, what does that look like to slow down? You know, the show's called In No Hurry. What do you kind of do to just slow down and hang out? Maybe that's watching your Orlando Magic. NBA just started last night.
Let's go.
So you got Paolo Banchero, who I think is going to be an MVP candidate this year. I think I tried to get him in my fantasy NBA draft, and the guy drafted him right before me, so I didn't get him. But
That's your loss, Cole.
yeah,
You should have taken him first. I don't know what
yeah,
you're doing. Um, um, it's a great question. There's two things, and I think I've already mentioned them. The first is like I tried to leave my phone somewhere else
yeah,
in the house, um, like just end it like our son goes to bed at 7:30, and that's usually when I want to put my phone to bed as well.
yeah,
That is definitely going to change because it's NBA season now, and I love nothing more than looking at box scores.
yeah,
I just It's my favorite book is the
yeah,
box score. Someone asked me the other day, like, what are you reading? And I was like, NBA box scores. Like that's what I read. Um,
yeah,
so it's less time on my phone, and then every morning I take Pancake on a walk, and it's there's nothing on in my ears. I walk our neighborhood and I pray out loud, and that for me helps me slow down.
yeah,
I've started blocking off parts of my day where all I do is walk and pray or think, and finding those creating moments to be a human being. I think are very important. If you
yeah,
want to slow down, like remember that you're a human being and you're not a robot. Like create some space just to be. And one of those ways that you can create space just to be is by reading a new book of poetry called Getting Through What You're I tried. I tried to sneak it in.
great,
But
great
that's the thing,
plug.
man. But I mean, like, honestly, reading poetry is a thing for me that helps
Yeah,
me. Like reading some Wendell Berry, some Mary Oliver, like it, there's something about just letting yourself just be.
hmm, yeah,
And it might sound hippy dippy to somebody listening, but it's going to be your new favorite thing.
yeah,
Remembering to be a human being is a
yeah,
really important.
yeah. I love
Yeah.
that. Well, before I let you go, tell us kind of, I guess, where we can find the book, where people can connect with you. And I know you're often posting poetry daily. You've even, will
hmm
post some videos of you reading a poem as well. So, yeah, where can people connect with you and get this book, and where can they follow your work?
Yeah. Uh, my website is writtentospeak.com. You can find me on Instagram at written to speak on Substack. My name's Tanner Olson, Olson. not like the Olson twins.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm always putting words out. I kind of tour around the country. I host evenings of music and poetry with some musicians, and I share poetry and stories, and they play their songs. And the nights are restful. They're slow, like in the best kind of way.
Yeah.
They're funny. I like to think they're pretty
Yeah.
funny. Um, but it's just a good time, and yeah, I'm always kind of bopping around the country, putting stuff online. So if you're looking for, and if you're like, I'm not a poetry person, um, maybe you might like mine. Like mine is not the kind of poetry that you're probably used to reading. It
Yeah.
feels more like a story,
Yeah.
or like a note from an old friend.
Yeah.
That's the hope.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Good deal. Well, Tanner, thanks so much. This was awesome. It's great catching up with you and learning a little bit more about your story and connecting over punk rock.
Yeah, dude. Oh, we're
Yeah,
getting off this call so we can talk more about it.
that's right. Yeah. All right. Thanks, man.
Thank you.